We are on. I know we're
Okay.
on live, but who does your hair, Yolanda?
Hold on. I can't hear the
Shout
Colonel.
out, shout
Are
out
we on,
to
Colonel?
Yes, he's going on.
He's
Sally
on? Okay.
Sharon.
Radio.
She's in force with Miss Leah.
I'll talk to you. We're on?
I thought, Colonel, did you say he's coming? Okay.
Yes, he's going.
Okay. Sharon, she's in force with
Good morning, Bishop. Good morning. Yes. All right. Slim.
Good morning, everyone. And every day we rise is a great day to be alive. And the Seven Cities Farms of Hampton Roads presents Portsmouth Coffee Talks morning show. Hello, everybody. My name is James Slim Overton, and I'm here with a co-host, Leah Drake Stitt and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning, and good morning.
Colonel, I
Yes.
see that star, and we don't have to say anymore. You know, everybody
Yes.
knows what happened. But we want to welcome the listeners to WGPL 1350 AM and WGPL1350.com worldwide, and the listeners on Facebook Live on Leah Stitt's page. Well, we have a special guest this morning. We have, oh, well, she's kind of returning. We had her on, and I'll talk about that. Her name is Yolanda Edmonds Thomas, and she is presently school board member in the city of Portsmouth. She attended the University of Virginia, majored in engineering, and also I see Norcom grad and a member of Delta Sigma Theta. Had to throw that in. But let me say first, you know, when we had Yolanda on when she was running for school board, she talked about some of the things she wanted to do. And one of the things we look for in candidates when they're running, do they hold true to some of the things they want to do? And this definitely fits Yolanda here. She talked about uh, uh, being at a, well, I'll let you talk about it, Yolanda, that situation you were in with some of your friends and some of the younger kids there knew another language.
Yes, well, first off, good morning. Good
Good
morning,
morning.
everyone. And thank you for having me on this wonderful show again. I love what you all do early in the morning, and I love the consistency. So whenever I see consistency and growth, it just, I love that. So awesome job, and thank you for having me on again. Yes, so Mr. Overton spoke about this is my second time on. The first time I was a candidate, and now I'm in my first term serving on Portsmouth, City of Portsmouth School Board. And what Mr. Overton was referring to was one of my campaign, really one of the new points I was trying to bring to the school. It's just highlighting a new standard and upgrading some of our program offerings. And for me, something that stood out from meeting with some of my friends from college and their children who are in public schools in other cities was that they were all bilingual, African-American children, all bilingual, all in elementary school. The oldest one I think at the time was probably in sixth grade, and the youngest one was in kindergarten. And so I just was blown away by all of their kids. We were at a Christmas friends, just little small get together, and from Boston to Fairfax to one was in Charlotte, North Carolina. All of their kids were bilingual, and that really gave me the idea that, you know what, I love Portsmouth. I'm Portsmouth homegrown, went to public school in Portsmouth, but we can offer some additional programs to our schools. And that's what sparked me to run. One of the things that sparked me to run for this position. And then what I've been on a mission to make sure that I deliver on within my first term. So.
Yeah, and and it sparked you to, and now we're looking at dual language immersion, and you can explain what exactly that is and how that fits in with your vision, early vision. But before you do that, I want to say I watch movies on Netflix, and they have a lot of movies from Africa on there. And what I noticed, they know that they need to uh, introduce their market to the United States because that's where the money is. But during most of those shows, they are taught English and their African
Oh,
language,
yes.
That's
you
right.
know, throughout the whole movie,
That's right.
so they, and everybody in there
Mm-hmm.
speaks both languages.
That's
And
right.
I just thought that was amazing how
That's
other
right.
countries are prepared,
That's
with
right.
a second
They
language,
right. Right.
and that's where we want to be. So talk about the dual language immersion.
Well, Mr. Overton, you hit on a great point. I mean, before I get into like what dual language immersion really is, you hit on a great point. As the internet made the world smaller, and so and technology just makes the world smaller. So to be global, to think globally, you have to introduce another language. And if you look at where we were overall, our students could take a foreign language in middle school. They could start taking a foreign language in middle school, and they could continue that foreign language into high school. And then, stop there. And that's what I think most of us did, right? I took Spanish at Norcom. And it was great. I learned a lot in that short amount of time, but I wasn't fluent. I was enough to read and say, me llamo Yolanda, right? Or como estás, right? Habla español un poquito, right? So a little bit, right? But if okay, so language immersion, it basically introduces a second language in the elementary level. And if you look at even babies who are learning just to speak their native language, their mind is able to,
That's right.
it's more flexible at that earlier age. And so it's the whole idea that introduce language through full immersion, because if you hear it every single day, and you're seeing it every single day through action, then you're able to pick it up. And then you're still not going to miss out on English, because English is your first language. You're still going to hear it in everyday society around you at your home. But if you're fully immersed, and I'll clarify that a little bit too, starting in the elementary level, then you're able to just pick that up easily. And so let me go back to something when I say fully immersed in elementary school. So what that means is some schools start in kindergarten, some schools start in first. Your core subjects, or some of your core subjects, are actually taught in a second language completely. From the time that child walks in the classroom, they're hearing only, only Spanish. And that kind of, I was not understanding fully, like, well, how does a child learn, but the instructors use a combination of like action. So if I say in Spanish, pick up a book, I'm going to say pick up a book, but I'm going to pick up the book. And you're going to constantly hear it and see it over and over again. So you're just going to automatically remember that second language. And I'm simplifying this a bit, but that's the whole idea behind it. So in Portsmouth, 2023, I always get my years confused, 2022, 2020. So yeah, what is this, 2022?
2022.
Yeah, 2023, 2024 will be our first introduction for language immersion. We're going to roll it out at one school first. Well, we're talking 1 to 3 schools, but probably it'll be one school first. And that school that we're looking at is not set yet, but we're looking at Brighton Elementary as our first rollout school. And I'm really excited about it. Very excited about that.
Yolanda, you're saying so much, and I'm so happy to hear this because I know my daughter went to Montessori school as preschool, and there they were teaching them German. And I saw how fluently she was able to come back and repeat those German words, but there was no place for her to continue it once she completed Montessori school. So therefore you lose it. And the mind at that early age is able to mimic these sounds and pronunciations, and the brain is better prepared to receive it at the early age than waiting till we're in middle
In
school
middle
and high
school.
school.
Yep. It's
You know,
almost too late.
and you go to other countries and the kids are speaking multiple languages, easily and fluently. I know when I was in Africa, and I was in South Africa then, and I went to this class and I heard these children and they were learning the language. They were learning on this little squawk box. I call it squawk box because it wasn't quite a radio, but they were there and the person was saying the words, they were repeating the words, and these children at a very early age were able to speak to me in my language, talk to their fellow citizen in their language, and may talk to someone over here who spoke a totally different language.
Exactly. If other students can do it, our students for sure, of course,
Exactly,
can do it.
exactly.
I believe it. I believe it. I know our students are the smartest and the brightest, and it would just open up a whole new world for them, Miss Stiff. So yeah, I believe it. And like you said, in other countries, this is not anything new. They don't call it, probably, I don't even know if it's called language immersion, but it is what it is. I had in my son's elementary school, there was a student, like a dual language student from another country, and I asked their mom, how did they learn English? She said by watching cartoons with the caption on.
That's right.
So
That's
it
right.
it's not a new concept to our English as a second language students, and our students can invert that and also learn a second language. And it's so many studies that have been shown that it increases. One of the things that I think help our superintendent and our his Dr. Bracy's staff, they do their research, right? They're not going to just implement a program
Right.
without doing research. And so they're looking at all the studies and they're like, oh, well, what study after study shows that in other school districts that implemented this, their reading test scores just skyrocketed. So it has other impacts as well.
It
Not
does.
only the second language, but your students' reading, comprehension, writing, just other things, other areas grow as well. So it's a win-win in those situations.
And it's only in America who has the arrogance to think that our language is the only language that people need to speak. And you're still going to have that subset out there who has a distaste for teaching children another language because they say, oh, you need to just know English. That's all you need to know. But as you
That's
say, the
American
world
way.
is becoming smaller, so much smaller,
Yes.
and you have to learn another. We have a deputy now who's with the DARE program, who we started back into the schools now. And one of the things he is Hispanic, and what he's doing with this DARE students every day, he's going to introduce them to another Spanish word. So that class is going to have a dual effect in the class. Not only are they going to learn DARE, but he's going to introduce them to another word in his language. And I'm just
It's
so
all
happy to
about
hear it.
early exposure. Yes, all it like it's this. Okay, so my whole philosophy is early exposure for language immersion, early exposure for STEM, earlier exposure for our CTE program. Like we talk about career technical education program in the high school, but expanding that to the middle school, which is something that also board member Shoemake is really, really passionate about as well. So early exposure for our children, like the earlier, the better. Reading, just everything, early exposure. So language immersion is just, one of those things. And to your point, Ms. Leah, with the DARE officer, we have, thankfully, as kind of we couldn't to kind of start get the whole ball rolling before we get like the full program implemented. We do have at Brighton Elementary School, all of those students get a proximity learning course every week for a second language. So they have dual language. They're not doing it every day. It's not full, but all of those students at Brighton right now, as one of their encore classes, has language. So they're at Brighton, and they have a very supportive principal in Mr. Garcia to introduce that. So yes.
It's interesting that Leah brought up how some on the right, and I'll say some on the right, or the Confederates talked about years ago of having passed a national law that you had to speak English. So you have to peel back the onion and say how racially tinged those kind of thoughts are, and coming from that part of our small growing 30% of society. So, but I'm encouraged by what if you go to other countries, and other countries speak 2, 3, 4,
That's
5
right.
languages.
That's right.
Everybody does, and they say you need to speak English. One is because it's a possible increases your economic viability in the world. And so your program of introducing this dual language program that you want to do, it has a secondary effect also, just not by increasing your ability to learn another language, but it can help in the economic growth when you go out in society, especially if you have a
Exactly.
job that deals with international commerce or anything like that. But the real effect is you learn other cultures.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And by learning other cultures, you will be tolerant of other cultures,
Exactly.
especially of folks that don't look like you. And I'm saying that to the Confederates on the other side, who want to just close off and bring a moat around society, and only want to talk and deal with folks that look like them. And so I had to get that off my chest there.
It's a good point, though, Colonel.
Yes, I know.
Good political point.
Yes, you know, I had to always get around to that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's
So
why you're here.
yeah, so you majored in engineering at UVA?
Yes, I did, sir.
What
Yep.
type of engineering?
Chemical engineering.
Okay, yes. So my brother did electrical engineering at Tech.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
At Virginia Tech.
At Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Went on to NASA and did all those great things. Now he's retired as electrical engineer. But I am a proponent of STEM education and anything in healthcare. And I always I did a lot of years in healthcare and in recruiting for the Army. And actually, Virginia Tech has a program where they'll, and I think I sent the email to Slim over the weekend that he can forward to you, that they have those who are interested in STEM that or juniors and I think it's sophomore, juniors, and seniors that are interested in engineering, have a program for going up to Tech free and looking at all the different types of engineering that we don't think about. You know, the chemical engineers, the material science engineers, and all those other things, that the education piece. So we'll have to get that to you.
Okay. We'll look forward to it. Thank you.
Yes, but tell us about what you're doing for the STEM, to highlight the STEM education in the school system, because I believe with that STEM, and also with the what I call the old VOTEC, vocational technical programs, is a way to the fastest way to get to the middle class in America.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you all had board member Shoemake on recently. And I think I know she definitely talked about the career technical educational piece. So I'll just add on to that for any listeners that didn't catch that. But yes, so I also sit on each school board member. I'll back up some. Each school board member sits on certain committees that we have on, within the school. And so my two committees are actually three. I'm on the Budget and Finance Committee. I'm on the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, and I sit on the Career CTE Committee. So what you refer to VOTEC, now called Career Technical Education.
Yes.
And the way we kind of are aligned is based on what we are. It's not, everyone has different priorities, but everyone has, priorities in different committees, but there can only be so many committee members. So one of the other things that I ran on, and because of my engineering background, I have a huge interest in expanding our CTE's Career Technical Education program As you know, we're trying to bring some of those programs back in-house from TCC. We love our partnership with TCC. We'll continue that, but some of those programs, we hope that we can increase participation by bringing those programs in-house, such as some of our welding program. We are also building out or rolling out a GoTech lab. So in the middle school at, I want to say Craddock Middle School, I got to look at my, I have to keep notes now because of my, I have so much in my, Craddock, the GoTech is going to be at Craddock. And it'll have, it's going to be designated in 2 classrooms. So coming out, we have all the equipment, we just have to install it. So Craddock Middle School, they're getting 3D printers. Those they're getting access to basically explore different areas of STEM. So that lab will have them, hands-on with different, machines and, play around with different ways that they can, maybe choose a career path for that CTE program. We are looking at rolling out something like automotive at Churchland, which will be a 3-year program, fall 2023. We're going to try to use the S.H. Clark, and all of these are already in the works, but they're not completed. They're in progress. Looking at, like I said, moving our building trades and having building trades at S.H. Clark and utilizing that facility. Utilizing Emily Spong to do bring our welding program in-house. So those are just some of the career technical educational pathways that we're looking to expand. Of course, we have our nursing program and looking to, increase partners so that our students can get some of those intern hours at a younger age, starting at 17, so that they pass tests. So there's a lot of different avenues that we're working on. We are also looking at the last CTE meeting. I think we had 2 representatives, and I need to reach back out to them, from Newport News Shipyard to come in and offer a partnership for their apprentice schools so that we can have a pipeline of students going from Portsmouth Public Schools to their apprentice school and making sure they're prepared and ready with the prerequisites and the math knowledge. So there's a lot of avenues that we are working on to expand. And then one of my things that I definitely wanted to bring, this is a key point, after this language immersion, my focus will be on including some of those emerging careers. So when you talked about your brother that's worked at NASA, I'm sure that there's some things that are STEM, but they're not big, like they're not the big ticket items. So when we think of VOTEC, we think of welding and all these, industry related things, but there's data scientists, there's artificial and people that specialize in AI, there's people that specialize in what we call machine learning, where, I think I talked about this last time. So bringing some of those careers as well that are pathways into our school earlier, because we are a data-driven society, and if you combine data and make data work for machines and make AI work better, smarter, faster, then you are also top of your career as well. So I'm trying to bring some of those less big ticket item careers and pathways into our schools next.
Yolanda, I'm so happy to hear that. Back in the day, when I served on the school board, I talked with Dr. Trumbull. At that time, Ed Irby was trying to sell the Pines Residential, which is now the Sportsplex on Portsmouth Boulevard. And I tried to talk Dr. Trumbull at that time into our acquiring the Pines for VOTEC, because of the fact they already had welding, they already had automotive mechanic, they already had small engine repair, they had brick masonry. All of those things were already set up on the campus, and it would have been good that we could just go in and immediately get started with those programs. Now, I serve on the Bloomberg Harvard study for the city of Portsmouth. So we're looking at ways to prevent youth violence. And when we went to the youth to ask them, so often we as adults want to tell children what to do. We're going to set this program up for you. They have no input into the programs at all. But we went to the youth to ask them, what do you want? What kind of programs do you want? We started out at Lakeview, and the young people identified the areas in which they had an interest in. And then that was our first prototype. The second prototype, we went out to the students at Craddock to ask them, what do you want? Overwhelmingly, these children wanted to learn careers that they wanted to learn lessons that they can have, which will prepare them for careers for those who may not want to go to college.
That's
And
right.
you know, they may not want to go now, but if they can get immersed into those classes now, it may stem their desire to go on to college. Right now, they're just not thinking college at all. One little boy told me, said, Mister, why you want to go and pay all that money and come back and get a job for $15 an hour? This was an elementary school kid who was talking to
They're
us.
smart. They're aware.
They are aware. So to provide those things for them now is the time to provide it for them. And I think that will help also to stem some of the problems we're having with behaviors in the school, because not all kids are meant to sit down at a desk
They're not.
for 8 hours. You know, it's just
They're
not meant to be. They need to move around, be involved, touch, feel, see things. So I'm so happy to hear that.
They need to, like, that sparks. I have two boys myself, and one of them is, you know, he likes science and stuff, and sometimes he gets a little, he only likes it when they get to do experiments, when he
Right.
can touch and get up and move. So even though I know he has to learn the building blocks, you know, everything, you do have to sit down and learn the building blocks of science. I know that to keep his interest, they got to be doing stuff, building stuff, or it has to be relatable to what they like. They love video games, right? They
Exactly.
love gaming. So they love technology, even though they don't realize it's technology. They are just, technology is part of their every
Exactly.
day since they've been born. So, you know, the phone, they can come out just using the phone. And so if you introduce those careers or just some of the concepts that they could build upon, and the things I'm talking about, you don't, there's a pathway outside of college for you to get your foot in the door, but then as you grow in your career, your company would pay so that your
Exactly.
generous points for you
Exactly.
to go to college to further your career. But there's so many pathways that I'll say my generation, our generation, that we weren't even aware of. And I wasn't even
Exactly.
aware of until I came into some of these new spaces in my career to say, wow, like, I wish I would have known about that, or I wish I would have could have learned about that. But there's no reason that our children can't.
Exactly.
Yolanda, you know, it takes all kinds of occupations, jobs to make the world go round. And even in retail, and I'll talk about my experience in retail when Nordstrom first came to town, one of the things they asked in the meetings, they got everybody to sign what language they spoke, what second language they spoke. I told them I spoke Pig Latin, never got a chance to use, but we knew in the store what everybody knew. So, and many times we had people coming in because of the area of Hampton Roads with the military, the ports, merchant seamen. We had people coming in all the time that only spoke their language. So we knew who to call on to help us with those languages. So even in retail and many other jobs that people might get into, it's going to be important for them to have a second language.
That's right.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Mr. Thornton. Absolutely. It can't hurt. It only can enhance and elevate. Absolutely.
Yeah, and before we go any further, we're getting close to 7 o'clock, so we're going to close out the radio, but continue on Facebook Live. And I want to thank all the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM, and please come back next week and join us as we have another special guest. And also, please support Black media. This is where you get the news that you might not get anywhere else, not to the extent that we can give it to you. So support Black media and support Portsmouth Coffee Talk. Take care. But let's go. It's a lot of other things that you deal with as a school board member. And one of the things we've noticed, especially with watching, you know, our city council and how crazy it's been. And
Lord,
we noticed,
Just make
but
you want to shout.
and we don't know, you know, we don't always know what's getting done because other things kind of overshadow what's going on. But one of the things I can commend the present school board is how they work together. Yeah, I know probably in the back room there's some disagreements, but and maybe some arguments, but we don't see that. But how is it, now with you working with the present school board, because we can see up front a lot of things getting done because it's out there, you're transparent with it. And it's not a lot of other things sort of overshadowing what you're doing as far as drama.
Yeah, good point. Good point all the way around. And I'm hoping that I was touching your city council, I'm hoping that, our city can have less focus on the drama and more focus on the progress.
Amen.
So I talked
Because
about
it's
your
important
show.
to the school board to have that kind of
It is.
cohesiveness on the city council because you
It
all
is.
depend on them for funding and a lot of
That's
other things.
correct. That's correct. And we I'll have to say that you said, how do we do it as a school board? Since I've been on school board, elected to November 2020, my first, started my term was January 2021. And what I've noticed is that it starts at the top. So we have a superintendent and Dr. Bracy that has an open door policy with each board member where we, if there's something that we need to address one-on-one or with the group, it's never personal. It's never, if it's something that I don't like or something we don't agree on, it's not taken as personal, it's taken as, okay, well, how do we come to
Exactly.
an agreement on that? And I think that starts with the leadership at the top. So I had to take my hat out to Dr. Bracy for that, knowing that, it's never personal with him. And then also I'll give kudos and shout out our board chair, who was the board chair when I came on, Dr. Cardell Patillo. He also, sets the tone. So there's I'm not saying there's no, like you said, there's always disagreements, but the disagreements are not personal. The disagreements are because we all care about the students of Portsmouth Public Schools, and we know that disagreements does not help the students. Disagreements
Exactly.
does not help the teachers. Disagreements does not help our underfunded schools and us trying to, all push our schools to the next level. And although we might have different priorities, our main thing, we were talking about, Coach Prime earlier, but one thing I do agree about is keep the main thing, the main thing. And the main thing for us is the students and staff and teachers at Portsmouth Public Schools. So if you can keep the main thing, any disagreements are never taken personal. Never a jab at you. It's a jab at, hey, I think that I'm fighting for the students, you're fighting for the students. Okay, let's come together. How can we do this? That's how you get a board or a group to work together who all have competing agendas, who all are competing, want to get the dollars for their agenda pushed forward. You keep the main thing, and you work it out in that capacity.
And Yolanda, and it's also important to realize that the children are watching you.
Absolutely.
They're watching your actions. They're not listening to the words that you're talking about, but they're watching your actions as a leader. And that determines, because when we have children, when we go and talk to children in the schools, and they tell me, say, well, why are you expecting this of me? When we talk about bullying to the kids, why do you expect this of me when look at what's going on in the city? Kids watch, and they can tell you about what's going on in the city. So it's important that you show the behavior. Don't talk it. But you say, don't talk it, you have to walk it. People have to
walk
see
it like you talk it.
Exactly. They have to see it, and then children will buy into what you're doing. But if you're saying one thing and your behavior is showing something else, they are not going to want to be involved with you.
That's correct.
So that's important.
Correct. That's absolutely correct. My children model behavior.
Exactly.
If I'm a parent and I don't want my child cursing, but I curse at home, then guess what? They might not curse in front of me, but they're gonna be cursing.
Well, you better believe it.
Like,
that's
so
for sure.
Children model what they model it. They see it, and you're right. That we have to be the example for the next generation. We have to be the example for our city, and even not even for children, for the citizens. Just for the citizens in general, we have to be the example.
You know,
You know,
you
and
have said
getting
a
back
lot.
to that vocational ed piece, we had on the show Michael Fletcher. He's also a Northam graduate from the
Mhm.
2000s. And he was trying to come back to Portsmouth to share, because he was saying how students use TikTok and all these other social media platforms out there. He says, but in the other communities, our children are using it for social reasons. He said the kids from the other communities are out there and they're making money off of knowing how to utilize these platforms properly. He had wanted to come back to teach a few things within the school system as well. I would really like for him to talk to you and share with you some of the ideas that he had. And
Absolutely.
he's in California now, but he comes back periodically. But he has some great ideas as to ways in which we can provide programs for children. And,
Mhm.
and it's worth listening to, at least, you know. We
I'm
don't buy every idea, but it may be
listen,
something that sparks an idea.
always open to listening to ideas, and because like I said, I'm a generation, removed from the TikTok, and I don't even
Exactly.
use I'm not even on social that much, but I know that that's the wave, and like you say, being building, a brand and getting, money from it. I gotta do a quick plug though, because you mentioned social media. And you probably know Miss Leah for Drip TV
Yes,
757.
yes, yes, yes. Drip TV.
Yes, I love what they're doing at Norcom with that, and growing their social media. I think it's Miss Parker. I'm gonna
Yeah, we're trying to get her on the show.
yes, Miss
Yeah,
Parker. Yes,
yes,
yes. She is doing a wonderful job, and I think with Mr. Fletcher, that might be a good, to even expand and help Miss Parker. I don't know, but yeah, always open to listening. And to your point about children, also say this, and this is how the career about data mining. I always tell my son, if it's free, nothing's for free, right? So if
exactly.
you're using an app for free, you you are the product. So
That's
nothing's
right.
free. You're the product if you're using an app for free. And so if you're the product, what are they getting from you? This is going back to our VOTEC CTE conversation. They're getting all your data, and data is the money maker. I used to
That's
work for
right.
ADP, which people think ADP is a payroll company, but ADP stands for automatic data processing. So yes, they process payroll, but what makes their company so powerful is that they have all this data on all these employees that get paid. So they can look at the trends of companies. They can look at economic data. They can, look at, how, they can sell their data to so many other companies and use it in so many other ways to influence. Um, it's a powerful tool. So I always say that is I'm going to take this back to career tech CTE. That is a career field. If you
It
can
is.
mine data, if you can understand data, if you can understand statistics and probability and know how to work that, if you can use your social media and look at your social media numbers to, build a platform and to build a business from there. There's so many different areas to go in. So no, Ms. Lee, I'm always open ears for programming, especially I'm not a social media person, so I don't know all that, but I know that that's the wave. I know
That's
that's
the wave.
the pathway. So yeah, I'm always open ears. And
Yes.
I had to shout out Drip TV 757.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed with Drip TV 757. They're doing an amazing job over there at IC Norcom High School, and the youth are really learning. In fact, we went to Blacks in Media luncheon, James and I, and James and I talked about our sponsoring a couple of those kids as members of the Blacks in Media. So at least because they're giving out scholarships to youth. And
Mm,
so if you can get these kids involved as a member, and they're getting to meet these individuals who are on TV and on radio, that can be an inspiration for them as well. But also it may be an avenue for them too to get some of those scholarships that Barbara Sierra and the rest of the crew were giving out to the youth. So that's a task we have to take on, young men. It's not that costly for them to join, so we need to at least sponsor a couple of the kids to participate in Blacks in media.
Yes. So let me get back in here and get back on my soapbox and intertwine this. But you know what? You talked about higher education is through the CTE program, or you want kids to go to school. And there's a couple points here on data points that you look at, is that there's always not all kids want to go to school. When you talk about kids, is saying, I think Leah's saying, why do I want to go to college and make $15 an hour? I preface it by you have to look at the parent too, is what the parent is telling the child. And if they have not or not able to put any money forward to have the kid go to school, then there's a lot of parents that discourage their children from going to school.
That's true.
And after high school, it says after high school, you know, your parental rights or my support of you is ended, especially if I'm paying, say, I got a broken family and I'm paying child support. After that 18th birthday, I'm done with you. And, you know, that's another story. And you talk to Herschel Walker about that.
Only my colonel. Only my colonel. Yolanda, only my colonel. That's all I got to say.
Yes. So, Yolanda, I'll take you for an example. Went to UVA, but your parents have higher education, I believe.
Yeah, they both are NSU grads.
So they put it in you from way back when you were in your formative years, that you had three things to do: learn that math, learn to read, and get those sciences out of the way.
That's right.
Am I correct? And that is the building blocks for higher education, going to the apprenticeship. And we have to tell our kids, even if you see that is a piece,
That's
you
right.
have to know how to do some math.
That's right.
We don't need to. We should not whitewash that and say you can get through life in math, because you can see that that deficit any day you go to any store and you don't use the self-checkout, but you tell the cashier, you know, he or she rings it up, and you give a 20 to them or whatever, and you change your mind and you give them something else, and they're dumbfounded. They're done. Oh Lord, what's happening now? I gotta call a supervisor to do this, or I can't, you know, I give you the correct change so I can get some dollar bills back, and they can't do it because they already passed that piece where they already put it in the computer. They can't do that critical thinking there. So math and sciences affects you from years out. So I had to just get that off my piece. But getting back to the city council, Yolanda, you said a lot. And there's a difference between the members, what you've stated, and your teamwork and the leadership and everything that binds your group together, versus there's a couple members on the city council that allegedly have a lot of corruption. And I said it on here that, you know, there's some bandwidth problems also, but they're working for themselves. And so you need to keep doing what you're doing in city council, in the education, to keep our kids educated so we can move past the forward and we skip all the foolishness we see on the other side in this other group that we have on city council. So keep doing what you're doing. So I just had to get that off the top. And they know who I'm seeing, who I'm talking about. I'm not even mentioning their names because they're facing recall now. And go recall.
I'm staying out of that.
But Yolanda, getting back to the school system.
Look, so we're gonna keep the main thing. Look, I follow you, Curtis.
Look, getting back to the school system, what are they saying about SOLs, because children are being taught to take tests. They're not doing any critical thinking at all. If it's
Yes.
not geared towards the test, they cannot think through the process.
I know.
What are they saying about those SOLs?
We haven't really gotten too much direction on SOLs outside of, during the pandemic, we weren't really held to the standard of the SOL scores the way we were in terms of like it impacting accreditation. So we had a little bit of a what you want to call a grace period for the pandemic. And so SOLs unfortunately are, still here, but there's a lot of sorry, I don't know if you can hear my background. There's a lot of work and discussion being talked about within the state from other school systems as well, not just Portsmouth, but other school systems as well, like on the validity and need for us, not just need, but just the validity of the SOLs and how that's impacting education, how
Exactly.
it's impacting the frustration of teachers, teachers, oh my God, teacher retention. I'm going to stop right there. Retaining teachers, quality teachers in education is one of our biggest issues right now. And we have to address the frustration of teachers. And it doesn't just come from their pay, it comes from other aspects. And I would love to do a deep dive with teacher surveys and looking at that to see what the other frustrations. I know discipline is one.
Yes.
Is a big issue for teachers and their frustrations. But I would venture to say from the teachers in my circle that I speak with on a daily basis that, the testing, the political aspect of it is another big issue. So I'm hoping that we can move away from SOLs. I think none of us had SOLs growing up, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
And it did not hurt us. I know why standardized testing was put into place, before I got on the school board, hearing all the political discussions about making sure schools were performing. And yes, I do think you have to have a way to evaluate the level of education, but the way that we've moved towards just being a test only or pushing the test, I think it's hurt our students' ability to do critical thinking. It's hurt our students to just be able to, I don't know, like I don't want to say they're not robots, but we're teaching to a test sometimes because we're the teachers, our schools, our superintendent, all of us are held to these test scores.
Exactly.
So I don't. There's not a there. We still have SOLs to answer your question, Ms. Drake, but there's a lot of discussion within across the state of Virginia that we either change up something, but there's no decision on it yet. And we also have what I hope I'm using the right term here, growth assessments that we're evaluating students' growth in certain areas and not just how well they do. So
Well, you mentioned
and I never did well on standardized testing.
me either. And
twice a year sometimes. But
yeah, me either.
I
want to say, let me say one more thing about the
ahead.
test because it relates to career technical education and why one of the reasons, I talked to board member Shoemaker and her past experience. When we look at our numbers for participants in the welding program, and this also goes to your point, Colonel, our students do have to, you have to take tests to get certified. You have to have a certain level of pre-knowledge in math and, proficiency in those areas. And so TCC also has a, test to go into these programs. And a lot of times our students are not a lot of times, but that's a barrier for some students. And so our hope is that by bringing it in-house, we're removing that barrier, we're able to better prepare our students. But overall though, I don't know, I know in education overall, we're missing the mark a bit. We're missing the mark a bit with the SOL standardized testing. And I hope that we can, fight at the state level and team with other school boards and school divisions to make a change in that.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's probably something that parents can speak to as well by going to the school board meeting. And parents need to voice their opinions on that. And I think that would carry some weight. And some
Or with their state legislators. That's
Mhm.
really, that's at the state level and,
Exactly.
yep.
right. You brought up about teachers and you talked about what you all are trying to do to probably keep the teachers and everything. I wanted to ask you, how important do you think it is to have a certain amount of male teachers in the school, especially at the elementary school level? And as a matter of fact, next Monday, we're going to have a teacher from Churchland, Isaiah Mariner. He's going to be our guest
From Churchill High
from
School, yes.
Churchland High School. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we want
Oh,
to get his
I'll
perspective
have to tune
on
in.
that too. But
Okay.
I can remember being in elementary school and being, it was good, even though I had a male in the house, but being at school and having a male figure or seeing them, even if I didn't have them as my actual teacher, that was good. Especially nowadays, if you see a lot of the kids don't have that male figure at home. And
Mhm.
how important do you feel like it's to have a proper complement of male teachers throughout the system?
Oh, I think it's that's a really good question. I think it's invaluable. I have two sons myself. I have an awesome husband. He's a great father. But one of the things, even my youngest son, actually both of my sons, it was interesting. My oldest son, who's at Churchland Middle School right now, he had said something how he was so excited. He was like, he mentioned it, like he called it out. He said, hey, three of my teachers are males, are guys. And I'm like, he even noticed that because he never had a male teacher in elementary school, ever. So he went through public school here, never had a male teacher. And, to see Churchland Middle School is led by Principal Paul Wilson, who's an awesome principal.
Y'all
They
took him away from Brighton. He was doing such an amazing job.
yeah, so he's the middle schoolers see him,
Yes.
he's rocking his fresh shoes, they have a great male presence. Our prior teacher of the year, Mr. Horton, Michael Horton, who's a math teacher, he's at Churchland Middle School. There's a lot of great male
Yes.
teachers across our schools, and I'd never realized until my son pointed it out that he did not have a male teacher at all in elementary school. And so I'm not thinking that he never said anything, but he pointed it out once he got into middle school, like, oh, I got three male teachers and our principal's a guy, and I just think that does something to our student body to see, especially, boys, Black boys, young boys, to see a male figure um, in their school. And my youngest son, who's in elementary school here, there was a male teacher. He was like, I wanted a boy teacher. That's what he said. And I don't know why, like, I never realized that they look at that, but they do, Mr. Overton. And so to your point, having quality teachers is the key, but I do think that having male, just seeing more male teachers it doesn't hurt. It's a good thing. And um, right now we don't have a lot at the elementary level, but and I hope we can increase that, but I'm glad to say that we have quite a few, and you're having one on your show next week. So yeah, that I definitely think this is important, and my own kids opened my eyes to like just them calling it out on their own.
It don't always have to be the coaches. They can be the teachers teaching math. They can teach
That's
in
right.
English and things like that
That's
to
very
show them that
yes.
males are, you know, a little bit more multitasking than just being coaches, and not taking anything from coaches, because a lot of the coaches teach those maths. My basketball coach was a biology teacher,
Oh
and I had to
wow.
go through him, in order to stay
Yeah,
on the
no, we
team.
had great I had to go shout out Norcom again, but Coach Terry and like
Yeah.
That's right.
Mr. Nick and just a lot of great, I mean, I had Dr. Jeter as a principal, so just a lot of great male figures, strong male figures, Coach Langston, who is a coach, but he also taught PE, driver's
That's
ed.
right.
So yeah, so there's always those male figures that provide that extra backbone for the students. And I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, and my female teachers made an equal impression
Oh,
on me.
absolutely.
You know, it sticks
Absolutely.
with me today.
All right, we're
Clean
not
it up,
biased. We're
James.
not
Clean
biased.
it
We're
up.
just showing we're not biased at all. Just showing that,
He's
like
got
I
to
said,
clean it up.
quality teachers is the
This is a
point. But
point.
it's great to have that
Equal
as my
balance,
uncle is
balance.
yeah,
Yes.
it's great to have a balance. Yeah.
Well, we're probably using the word diversity, what we're not supposed to use in the country anymore, that word anymore. But I'll bring that back to the governor and his this Confederate governor we have there and his new education plan. And part of it wants to whitewash our American history. There, like slavery. We came over here on the boat buying a ticket and we never got whipped or beat or anything like that. And I see those kind of movements across the country. And then so we talked about critical thinking. And so where is the new governor's plan and how are you going to implement, or do we have to implement the governor's new plan to take down the educational system?
That's no. The governor's new plan is still a plan, and it is not something that we're implementing. I think the governor, thankfully, he's trying to implement this, or he's trying to, like you say, put out this history standard curriculum that's
Revision.
it's just
Total
not yes,
revision. Total revision of
right,
history.
that we know is not accurate. And so for right now, no, we're it's a talk that he's doing, but no, I think we have to keep our eyes on it. I think we have to stay vigilant on it, but it's still a plan. And even he had to go back to that plan and make some corrections for leaving out certain holidays and
Yes.
no. To answer your question,
No. No.
no.
Well, you know what? When you mentioned that he had to make some revisions, it's probably written by Steve Miller from the Trump administration. And it's passed down. He just basically wrote it off, and now I'm reading it and saying, well, the white supremacists and those folks, we need to relook at this because I haven't read it because he's running for president already, and he's trying to, he's fooled the people of Virginia, and now he's going to try to fool the people of America with his sweaters and everything around the country, and then so. Hopefully we just run the clock out on him and send him back to DC so he can run his hedge fund where he's more apt to put people out in the Medicare fraud that he was charged with. Yes, I know. You saw that. I know everything on him. He's a
Oh no,
crook.
I didn't see that. No, so look, I'm just I didn't see that, but no, I am following clearly what the moves that he's trying to make for education, and no, just
Yes.
no.
Yolanda, Roberta Carter writes here that
I
fourth
was
grade
gonna say that too,
SOL
Leah.
states that slaves were unpaid servants.
Yes.
She said that was on the SOLs. And
On the SOL.
she taught in the school
Unpaid
system.
servants.
Roberta did.
Wow. No.
But you
Were
know
they
what?
talking
That's
slaves
that's
or they
that's
talking
that's
about
that's,
Herschel?
that's why it's called history, because it's his
History.
story, and you
Right, and
tell
we
the
have to
story
teach
based
it.
upon what you want people to know. But
We
if
have
you
to
go
teach
throughout history and you look at some of the lessons you've learned in history, you later learned a lot of lies were told
a
in the
lot,
history class.
a lot, a
Because they
lot,
made it to make them look good,
a
and
lot of. I think for history, I had the privilege, and I didn't start at Portsmouth Public Schools till I was in the 6th grade, and prior to that, my elementary school was at Hampton University. So Hampton University used to have a school on its campus, an elementary school on its campus called HU Lab Schools, the Hampshire University Laboratory School, and that's the school that I attended from first to fifth grade. And thankfully at that school, every year, you know, they have the Emancipation Oath. We would go
That's
over
right.
there and learn about that. You know, we learned about all of, we would always visit at HU Arts Museum. You know, my principal at the time, Dr. Gilchrist, she, you know, we sung the when we started our like mornings, we sung the Black National Anthem.
Oh,
I
yeah.
learned that in first grade. So there was a pride, and let me say that all of my teachers were not Black. I had a diverse mix. One of my favorite teachers, Miss Leroy, who I still keep in touch with to this day, was you know, a white woman, but she was very, you know, bought into. It wasn't just, you know, it wasn't making it wasn't pushing one narrative. It was just pushing what happened and making the students aware.
Mhm.
And it actually, I feel like that foundation is a strong set into your inner beliefs about who
That's
you
right.
are. And I have to credit, even though it was in a public school, I have to credit that early introduction into who I am as a Black woman, who I am as Black, and and who we are as a people, as a country, because the history, it's not set to make one race feel bad about another
Exactly.
race or feel less. It's to just tell the truth about this is what happened in this country, but now look at where we are. And so
Exactly.
it's a lesson in empowerment as well. It's a lesson in overcoming. It's a lesson in coming together. It's a lesson in rewriting, or, certain people helping another group that they see is wrong. It's a lot of lessons in our history, and we can't rewrite it. We just have to teach it and move forward and learn the lessons from that. So that
Exactly.
school set the foundation. That early education set the foundation for me. Learning the we had to learn the preamble and the Constitution in elementary school, and they taught it to us as a song. So it's not saying, "Oh, you're less American" or whatever. Or you're not patriotic. We all are patriotic. But we learn the full history.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, I had a white teacher at IC Norcom that knew where he was, and he introduced our class to Marvin Gaye's Inner City Blues.
Oh yeah,
He actually played the album and wanted us to listen to the
that's
word.
right.
So, like I said, he knew where he was, and he knew uh, what his obligation was as far as teaching. So, you know, that kind of teaching can go a long way.
That's right.
We're winding down now, Yolanda, and we want to give the host a chance to have a final statement, and then you have the last word.
I might as well go first here. That I got.
Oh, Colonel.
Yeah, I just got one more thing. First, Yolanda, thank you for coming out and listening, giving your points of view, and well taken, and love what you're doing. Keep what you're doing. And as a commentary, I would tell the people out there in electron lands, be careful. When you hear someone wanting to rip up the Constitution of the United States, people talking about there's one good religion in this country, one dominant race, and defining who is patriotic and who is not. Educate yourself and know what's right and wrong, and do not let them erase our history.
Amen.
That's my commentary for this nation today.
Well,
Leah?
Yolanda, after my Colonel, I just want to say, I'm just so happy that you came on. I'm so happy that you shared that information. And I encourage those who may not have heard the whole show. James will have it on YouTube at Portsmouth Coffee Talk later. A lot of valuable information that Yolanda shared with us today about the Portsmouth school system. And it seems as though the Portsmouth school system is moving in the right direction. And I want to compliment each of you for for a job well done. For a job well done, and the direction in which you're taking the school. It's important, and this is where you come into the point. It's valuable to have young people around because young people have connections, young people have ideas, and it's important that we listen and we embrace those ideas that they bring to the table, weigh them heavily, see what works, see what does not work. And I think that you all have done an amazing job as members of the Portsmouth School Board. And I cannot say enough about, I always call him my cousin. That's my Dr. Eli Bracy. I'm just thankful that he sits down and he listens as well to the ideas that you're bringing to the table. And he's really willing to experiment to find out what will work and what will not work. But you know, you come from a good family. Your daddy has gotten most people elected in elected office. He has walked the streets forever. For every person who has run for office and for those he's walked the street for, they have been elected. So Carl is my friend. Your mom is my friend as well. But Carl has done an amazing job in getting individuals elected in the city of Portsmouth. So come from good stock, young lady.
Yes.
And we have some wonderful things that's taking place in Portsmouth education system. And I hope that those of you who may have missed the show, you will come back and you will look at it later on YouTube. And encourage your friends, Yolanda, to go to Portsmouth Coffee Talk YouTube page so that they too can see this amazing interview that you shared with us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, first I'd like to give a shout out to your parents who at Malcolm when I was there, they came out a year before me, class of 70. They paved the way for the class of 72.
Oh.
And Carl and Beverly, shout out to them. And thank you for coming back on. And we want to have you back on as well as we want to have other school board members on here to share their vision. And you have until what you're there till 2024?
2024, yes, I'm up for reelection for next 2023. So November 2023. I hope to be reelected, and yes, that's
take that hope off. You will be reelected, okay? You will be reelected.
I will be. I hope that the citizens reelect me. But yeah, I have to shout out my mom and dad as well. They are the best, and my husband. So my mom, Beverly Edmonds, Carl Edmonds, my family, the whole Edmonds family, my mom's side of the family, who are Campbell Watsons from Brighton.
Yeah.
And I just have to shout them out. And my husband, Maceo Thomas, who is supportive and right now getting the kids ready for school. And I do this. So I, fixing the breakfast and so forth. So, we're a team, and I can't do any working and being on the school board and being a mom and being a wife, it takes a great partner, and he's a great partner and a great spouse. And so I have to shout him out as well. Also a Norfolk graduate, state champion, class of 95. And I just,
go
I
ahead.
have to tell y'all thank you too. You're, like I said, the consistency, the growth, keeping the citizens informed. This is just an awesome platform, and I don't take it lightly to be invited to speak. And I will definitely continue to share and continue to tune in as y'all, keep the banter and from the Colonel and his soapboxes. Thank you, and to the citizens. Just thank you for, even putting me in this position. I don't take it lightly, which is why, I'm not saving anything for the next term. I'm doing all that I can and to implement my promises this term as much as I can. It's only so much you can do in 4 years, especially when I came in a pandemic year. But what I said I was going to do, I'm doing, and it might not be to the full extent of what I want, but I'm glad that it's being started with the language immersion. I'm glad we're moving CTE forward. I'm just glad that I'm able to serve at this capacity and was put here by the citizens to do what I said I was going to do. So I don't take that lightly. And even if you don't agree with all of my views, my personal views, just know that, like I said, I'm still in Coach Prime's thing, but the main thing is our educational system here in Portsmouth, our students, our teachers, our staff, our bus drivers, our custodial staff, our food service staff, just making sure that our schools are in the best condition and better than when I came in office is my goal.
Amen.
Well, you know,
And
even
that
if
was a
people,
sermon within itself, okay?
even if people don't agree, I think by being transparent, it gives people an idea, or at least they can understand your position.
That's
You know,
right.
when you vote and don't say anything and don't share your position, that's something that is, I think, a disservice
That's right.
to the people that put you there. But
Mhm.
anyway, we want to thank you again, and we want everyone to continue to watch Thursday. This Thursday, we're going to have Cheryl Wilkerson on, and she is a longtime radio host here in the city, well, in Hampton Roads and in Richmond. She's from Richmond, and she agreed to be on. She's now has a show on Norfolk State's channel, and
And she has a
when,
little spot on the Willie Moore Jr. show as well on Wednesdays,
yes,
I think it
yes,
is.
she does.
6 o'clock p.m. Yes.
And when I first approached her about coming on, she said, what would I talk about? I said, you're a radio host. What do you want me to talk about? But anyway, she'll be here. And then, like I said, next Monday, we're going to have Isaiah Mariner, who is a teacher, a math teacher, I believe, at
And
Thurston
doing
High.
great things in robotics as well.
Yes,
So.
and robotics too. So we're looking forward to having him on, as well as Cheryl Wilkerson this Thursday. So tune in this Thursday at 7 p.m. And Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our voice
Our community.
I love them.
In our future.
and our future.
And Yolanda,
And
when we go
we
off,
salute you.
don't leave yet, because I have a question to ask you, okay? When I
Okay.
end
Yeah,
Facebook,
I have
all right?
one too.
Okay.
Okay.
I have one
Okay.
too. I don't want to step out.
So anyway, thank you to all of our Facebook listeners and watchers. Thank you so very much for joining us this morning. Once again, we want to encourage you to go to Portsmouth Coffee Talks YouTube page, share, subscribe, and like our page. We need some subscribers now. Come on and subscribe, and you can go back and listen to James' hundreds of interviews, is it not?
Yeah, we got about 168
168
videos out
interviews. So you
there.
can go back and listen to what these individuals have said.
Mhm.
Politicians, you can hold them accountable to what they've
But-
said. So go back and look at our YouTube sessions. YouTube can see what has been taking place in the city of Portsmouth over the past, well, we've been together for a little over a year, James and
Yes.
Colonel.
Yes.
So just go back and watch and see.
And some of
and
the
subscribe.
videos are timeless. Some of the videos are timeless, so you can go back and
They
some.
are. So once again, we want to thank you for watching. Thank you for coming on. Come back on Thursday at 7 o'clock and join us for Portsmouth Coffee Talk Evening Edition. Everybody have a great morning. Be blessed and have a fantastic day.
Oh, one more shout out is to Coach Ali, the girls coach at IC Norcom. They had a
Yes.
victory over the weekend, and I believe they have another game tomorrow night. They're playing Booker T at IC Norcom, their first home game. So make sure you support those ladies.
And
the
not
lady
only support
Lieutenants.
them by going to the game, they need Gatorade, they need water. Don't forget, drop it off at the school. They need Gatorade and water for the girls. So please support them in that way as well.
And
Congratulations, Coach Ali.
and the JV and varsity boys as well. So
Yes. Okay, let's stop this. Have a blessed day, everyone.
have a blessed day. God
Bye.
bless you.